I'm Cathy.
I'm Rachel.
I'm Ola. And I'm Luna. And welcome to Luna Bird Book Club.
The eponymous Luna of the Luna Bird Book Club.
So we have talked about Wind and Truth for about the last 2 months.
A couple times.
Yeah.
only a couple times.
On this channel. Like, we did a prediction video of it. It was in like your reading wrap up, it's been in my reading wrap up. You did a reaction to just one storyline in this.
Yep.
And then we did a vlog about whether our predictions were correct or not.
Which if you haven't watched, go watch it now.
But the one thing we haven't done yet is review the book.
This guy's gonna be too hard. It's too big to review. Too many things.
So we're going to do that now. And this could be very chaotic.
Yeah.
It will be full of spoilers.
Mm-hmm. But not wider Cosmere spoilers, because Cathy hasn't read the wider Cosmere.
No.
So if you're going to comment and spoil the wider Cosmere, please don't.
Yeah.
Please don't do that. Where do you want to start?
Okay, let's start with... let's be harsh, start with an overall summary.
Uh-huh.
How do you feel about this as a book?
I think I can't think critically about these books, which actually that's a lie, because as I was reading it there were parts where I was like, Cathy's not gonna like this. Or there were parts where I thought, because I know that at times in the past you have said there are bits that are included that don't necessarily need to be, so there were parts where I was reading and I was thinking, you could have cut this, you could have got rid of this. And I also feel like there were so many different plot points that a lot of them weren't resolved in their entirety, or were mentioned very briefly and then just weren't there again. Overall, I was happy with the book, and I think because it's such an enormous undertaking, and because I think Brandon has so many books that he wants to write to complete the Cosmere as a whole, that maybe they just, as a team, they just don't have the time to get it where it would be as a fully polished object.
Mm-hmm.
And as a fan of the Cosmere as a whole, I'm okay with that. I know that other people might not be, but overall I did enjoy the book, and I thought that it did work 80% of what it needed to, I think.
I feel like at its core there's something really enjoyable about the series, and there was something really enjoyable in this book, and I do love reading it. I like the experience of reading it. I don't feel like a grown-up reading it again or anything like that. I love being there. I love these characters and this world, and that core is very, very strong. And some of what makes it good is really hard to define or put words to, but it is there. It's really engaging. But I think overall this book felt unfinished. So it kind of felt unfinished, and kind of like what you said, like some of the plot points didn't feel like they ended properly in this book. And I'm trying to give some allowance for it's not really the end of the whole series, it's the end of a chapter, but I think even contained within this book, things were left kind of hanging. And I feel like it was also unfinished in that it needed 2 or 3 more rounds of editing to kind of work on some stuff. Like, yeah, I just think it felt like it was unfinished as a piece, and the storyline felt unfinished, and that was a bit frustrating.
And I think especially because the first 4 books, even though they are part of a series, they all do feel like a brick.
Yeah.
As opposed to a drawing of a brick. That's harsher than my own belief is, but like this feels like it's, the others do feel finished.
Yeah. Like say in the last one, Rhythm of War? Like the main thing of Rhythm of War is, you know, the tower's under siege. And at the end of that book, the tower is no longer under siege, and that bit's concluded. Now, there's still a wider war going on, but the main thrust of that story is concluded. Yeah. And I feel like there were major thrusts, I've said that word too many times now, that aren't concluded in this, and that just robbed my satisfaction a bit. Should we look at it storyline by storyline?
I think
like
that's a good idea.
Character? Do we start with the biggest one first?
I think we're going to disagree about what the biggest one is.
Oh, I would say Daliner's.
I would say Kaladin.
Oh! Okay. Instant disagreement!
Well, let's start with Dalinar.
Okay. Okay, my thoughts on Dalinar is I love him as a character. I am happy with his radical choice in the Fight of the Champions. I wasn't predicting it.
Neither was I.
And I like that it ended, like, he forfeited his power, lost, died, but in doing so has set the stage for others to now be forced to join in and deal with Odium, who otherwise wouldn't.
He died.
Am I sad that he died? A bit of me is sad that he's died, but I'm also just so proud of him and who he's become. And I quite like that he's been on this long journey to wrestle more with what he's done in his past and who he wants to be in his future. I did feel that to get to that place kind of took a long time, and a lot of like the structure in the spiritual realm of him seeing things in the past, that got a little bit boring for me, because I kind of knew at one point we were going to find out the fullness. So seeing it in little chapters, it wasn't teasing it for me, because I just thought, well, at some point he's going to stumble on the right vision and tell us. Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. Now, see, I do like Dalinar, but I also kind of don't really care about him. I kind of agree, but then also I really liked the flashbacks in the spiritual realm, and I really liked how in day 9, maybe because I don't really care about Dalinar, we weren't with Dalinar, we were with Tanavast.
Yeah.
However, I will say that in that day, I wish that we hadn't seen those at all, and then maybe like the last chapter of that day, which I feel some people would have hated because it would have been really long. I would have just wanted to have that last chapter just be Tanavast, and then just go through that whole gamut of flashbacks of Tanavast's past and how he came to be who he was, and the history of him shattering and all that kind of jazz. I would have wanted that all at once, because I feel like that's the way that Dalinar would have experienced it.
Yeah.
Was where it was just like trickled through. It just kind of lost some of its momentum for me, and that's my personal opinion.
No, yeah, I get that. I think that perhaps would have made a stronger impact in one. In fact, I don't think I even understood, as I was reading it, that Dalinar was experiencing those things. I did not pick up on that until Dalinar kind of mentioned it later on that he had. I didn't pick that up from the narrative.
A lot of Dalinar's things in this book were just us getting history, us getting lore. So I suppose I did enjoy that, but not because it was Dalinar there. I didn't really care about Dalinar.
You just wanted the lore.
Yeah. Although with Dalinar being there, I did get to see Navani and Little Gav, and I do love them, and I'm like absolutely heartbroken about what happened.
I feel like Dalinar came to like a place of peace with himself and what he needs to do, and I feel like I love his love with him and Navani. I was satisfied with it. I just felt like I didn't need as long to get there, especially because some of the stuff he was confronting, I feel like we'd already tackled that in Oathbringer. Yeah. So I feel like that was already concluded, and the big thing that he was trying to figure out was how to break the cycle. And he did that not by trying to become an equal of Odium's, but surrendering. Yeah. So that was really cool. Didn't need quite as long to get there.
Yeah. And I think because there was only one place that Dalinar's story was going to end up.
Yes.
So there was a lot of mileage for something that we already knew was going to happen, I think.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Okay. Do you want to move on to Kaladin?
Sure.
How do you feel about Kaladin's storyline?
I'm really sad about Kaladin's storyline. My boy. I think I found day 1 really hard to read because, well, I did. That's not true, but I found day 1 was very. It just felt very much like Kaladin isn't going to see these people again, and he's saying goodbye.
Yeah.
And it just felt kind of laboured.
Yeah.
I think to me, and I also think. A lot of the time, things are said about Kaladin, but then sometimes he does things that completely contradict that statement about his character. Like, for example, when he went to say goodbye to all of Bridge 4, he kind of took R'lain's celebration of getting the Spren away from him. Which I think in the past, Kaladin and R'lain have talked about the way that how am I going to phrase this? They have had discussions about the insensitivities that Kaladin sometimes has about R'lain as a singer, as a listener, and for him to come and just take away that focus from R'lain on his special day just to say goodbye to everybody. It just seemed really out of character for me.
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessary for him to say, oh, well, I need to see all of Bridge 4 together, so I'll go to this because they're all going to be there. If he'd said, Bridge 4, I'm going on a mission, let's hang out one last time, they would have all been there. I just don't understand why that was the event that was used.
Wouldn't it have been nice if he'd had a celebration say goodbye to Bridge 4, and then at that celebration they realised Elaine's got his friend, and it turned into a celebration? Wouldn't that have been nice the other way around?
As a it just felt really not like Kaladin and the lessons that he's learned about R'hllane.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
And also, you knew this was coming. You know this was coming. In the chapter where Kaladin and Syl go to get the scribing materials from the book quartermaster, why does Kaladin not know the word library? Because right. He's from a family. His dad wants him to go to Kharbranth to learn to be a surgeon. What is in Kharbranth? The biggest library in the world. Would Kaladin not have been told about that by his dad? Yes, he would. Would he not? Like, he spends all his time guarding Shallan and Yasna and Navani. Like, they are all scholars. They would be talking about libraries and things. I just didn't. It really infuriated me that Kaladin was like, oh, what's a library? It just made me really angry. Kaladin is an intelligent man.
Yeah.
And it felt like a joke that just felt really out of place, and I did not like it.
Well, speaking of jokes that feel out of place in that
you
chapter.
You can mention the Chulhead.
That's also the chapter where Syl jokes about turning parts of her anatomy to resemble Chulheads and like feeding it stuff, and that was so cringy and mature. You know what I said, like it feels like it needs 2 or 3 rounds of edit?
Yeah.
Sometimes those are the kind of things that I feel like an editor would pick up and go, this isn't funny, and it's weird.
I know what you mean. I feel less, at the time I was kind of like, what? I feel less what about it now. And I think especially those first few scenes with Kaladin and Syl, they had, and maybe this is just because I was scared that they were going to be forced into a Spren-human relationship, which I did not want. They just kind of read very romantic.
Yeah.
Like there was one where Syl and Kaladin were with his family, and it was kind of like here are Kaladin's baby pictures. Here's Syl joking about the Chulhead and saying that she's going to manifest with no clothes on.
Yeah.
And then they had the dance scene, and all the time through that I was just really I was really unhappy about the
Do you not think it's still going to go that way?
I don't think so. I think the way that it ended and the fact that they're both in this paradise together, it did read more as friendship. So now looking back on those scenes, I do feel less icky about them. Like looking back on the dance scene, how sweet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just, in the first run through of the Kaladin storyline, some of the times I was very about it, but I think on a reread I would really cherish those moments now. Apart from the library comment.
What about Kaladin and Seth and their journey and quest?
I really enjoyed the Shinamar chapters. I know that you said that you didn't really understand any of things that were being told, but I thought it was really nice for them to have a break, and Kaladin was learning how to deal with sometimes not being able to do the things that he was trying, but then he just thought, well, I'll try a different way. I thought that the growth that Kaladin went through in Shinovar was really good. Yeah. And as much as I hate the fact that he's dead and he's not going to see his friends for 15 years, and he's going to come back and they're going to have aged and he's just going to be the same 20-year-old boy, I really liked where Kaladin ended.
I go back and forth on how I think about this. I'm not sure if I'm being fair or not. On one hand, I like the idea of him going to try and work on people emotionally and like therapy, and part of the Stormlight Archive is that you have these intense characters together who all kind of in some ways represent different neurodiversity or illness or something. So sometimes that, I feel like that's a core concept of this book.
Mm-hmm. Did someone just make like a squeak noise whilst you were saying that?
Oh, I don't know.
Did you do that? It was a bit like it.
I think I laughed because as you said that I was reminded of the I'm not his whatever, I'm his therapist, and that line just like threw me completely out of the story. It just felt really out of place.
There was a few lines that did that for me, and that is one of them. The other was like, let's go kick some fused ass somewhere later on, I'll be like, what?
I had there's one where I think it was Sveth and Kaladin are talking, and Sveth says to Kaladin, "As you wish," and this didn't throw me. This threw me out because of the Princess Bride, and I was like, "That means I love you."
Yeah. So a core thing of this book is like addressing emotional health, mental health, accepting difference, and redeeming redemption for yourself, like psychologically. And yet, I don't quite buy it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's bits where I'm reading this chapter. I think maybe because it happens like over 10 days. Or maybe because sometimes the way Kaladin talks to the character, the way that they're experiencing these feelings and emotions and regrets, it feels like a very like intro textbook to psychology.
Mm-hmm.
There's just something that feels a little bit clinical about it. And maybe even a bit too neat and tidy.
Like it's very forced.
Yeah, so if you can just show acceptance to somebody or say like, well, you were loved or you were just a child and it's not your fault, but now you take responsibility. It's not like there's anything offensive or wrong in that. In fact, I think there's even a bit where it says, oh, that sounds a bit trite. And somebody goes, well, it does sound trite when we have to remind ourselves of like the core things. But it's so acceptable and right and balanced that it seems to just lose some of its heart and complexity, and I don't quite buy it as part of this story or world, really. It feels like it's our modern day lingo and understanding of psychology inputted into this book and world to teach us about mental health, if you know what I mean. It's just a bit too transparent. Okay. I wish it was done a bit more where it was embedded into like a subtext rather than it being the text.
I know what you mean.
That's what I want. That's how I feel about it, and I don't think I've ever expressed that as clearly as I have just said.
This isn't really about Kaladin, but there was this bit with Shallan where she was thinking about how she defeated Formless, but then Formless was still there. And I was reading that quite graciously in that I was like, well, yeah, but just because you've defeated this, it doesn't mean that it's one and done.
Yes.
Healing is a continuous journey, and then for that to be completely upended and have Formless just be someone wearing a disguise, that felt really weird.
I think again this is another thing where I feel like it needed another round of editing and thought into it, because I think because of stuff like that, the themes and the message of this book,
they're a bit muddled.
They are a bit muddled. They're either too basic or too like muddled or lost, so it just doesn't quite hold up.
What did you think of Shallan's storyline? Wait, hang on. I'm just gonna say I really liked Blythe Mishram, and I'm really sad that we didn't see what happened after she was released. I wanted more of her. Yes. And I'm excited for the future of that.
Yes, I agree. I think the Ghostbloods have never convicted me that much as either a big threat or a big thing to get to, but I can't remember how you pronounce the name.
Well, I said Bar Adol Mishram, I don't know if that's right.
Bar Adol Mishram. Yes, I like the idea of her, the way that she was invading Shallan's paintings and the search for her and her history seemed interesting, and I would have loved to have had more of her, and I would have loved to have seen her after she got released, because that was another big thing, like, oh, they're going to release her, they're not going to release her, oh, they released her!
Yeah.
No, never mind that. You can hear about her in the next book.
I want to hear about her now!
Yeah. Which again, I feel like structurally, I would have preferred this book to have brought the confrontation forward a bit and have a few more chapters of the fallout of that.
Now with all these extra chapters that you're adding in, that book would be so long.
But would it, or would things be taken out to make this bit cohesive and more shorter so that we could have that afterthought?
Yeah, you'd have to take stuff out beforehand, which I think it could cope with. Because again, we had like 10 days to the contest. Dallin is searching through to find the right moment. Kaladin and Sveth working through 10 monasteries. And Shallan and Co searching through the spiritual realm to find a prison. And for each one of those, you kind of knew that you had to wait till the end before anything significant was really going to happen. So
that's a really valid point.
So all 4 of those storylines, it was all about like, well, you know nothing's going to happen until day 10, monastery 10, you find the prison. So that I feel like that needed mixing up a little bit.
Okay.
I've got loads of prisons, I did enjoy it, I promise. What else about Shallan?
I can't remember. I'm so mad with how her storyline ended. I absolutely hate it.
Her being trapped.
Yeah, I'm filled with rage.
Yeah, again, because I don't really like the thought of being in the cognitive realm and being trapped there.
Why did it happen to her?
Yeah, she just didn't get back in time.
Yeah.
Like that.
And the fact that she was so close, it just feels... It makes me sick. I hate it. And I can intellectually understand that it's probably because she's going to do things with the Ghost Bloods. As opposed to... I don't really know.
I feel like we already did the story of... We're trapped in the cognitive realm. We have to do a really long journey to get out. Yeah, I feel like I've been.
But now they can't get out.
I know.
Like there's no magical way for them to get out.
But I reckon in the next book they'll be like, oh, there is a way, but you have to get to this point and then it'll work.
I don't really know, but I think it'll be Yasna will
find a way
to take other people through.
Yeah.
To the cognitive realm and back, like that. Honor Bearer did. He took 2 people through to have that fight with Sveth and the beads.
I can't even remember, but yeah, I do remember, yeah.
Like there is a way for Else Callers to transport not just themselves but also other people to the cognitive realm, and it's just, even though Yasna has sworn the 5th ideal, I think. Don't quote me on that. She can't do that yet.
Okay.
So I think, I don't know if that will be how Shallan will get out, but probably.
What about Renarin and Relaine, because they were also in that storyline. Did not see them two get... That came out of nowhere for me, but I do love both of those characters and I want them to be happy.
That was the forbidden knowledge that I already had about the romance. Because it's been in like Words of Brandon's and things. And in fact, there's a specific Cosmere fandom holiday called Relaine Gay Day. That I read the chapter where they kissed on that day.
Oh,
how cute is that?
Yeah. I like Shallan's reaction, and like it was being described like Shallan is watching and clapping and squealing.
Oh, that was so silly.
And again, like I liked their storyline because I thought they were going to be the human and Singer bringing stuff together,
and they are,
and they did it. I wanted that storyline to have more of a conclusion. So I liked it. I liked them both. Renarin is still quite mysterious to me though. Even we saw more of him in this book, I kind of want more of him.
I agree.
That's not a criticism of the book, I want more of him.
I think we will get more of him in the next half. I think him and Relaine have a big part to play in the future.
I like Relaine too, but the more I learn about him, the sadder I feel.
Aww.
Do you know what I mean? Like, he's had such a sad life, and it was sad enough thinking he was like a double agent spy person. Then every new book reveals something else
like,
that's
the
horrible.
only reason that he's a double agent and spy is because none of his friends really cared about him. Poor guy.
I know.
Oh, well, Renarin cares about him.
Renarin cares about him, and I think Shallan cares about him too. I guess you've already covered Gavinor.
Yeah, but do you know what? I haven't, because I feel like I'm being very critical about this book, but I don't... When did Odium make that decision? Was he just taking advantage of an opportunity? Or, do you know what I mean? Like, because Odium feels like a guy who just plans, and it was very accidental that Gavinor ended up in the spiritual realm.
Yeah.
So, and I just don't like it.
I was so pleased when Navani like made it her priority to get him out.
Me too!
That was like the right call, and she used all of her brain to do it. But the thing of like, the mother figure, like all you want to do is you want to pick that kid up and get out of there. And the fact that, she did that and had to walk away from like the memory of her dying son to do it. Oh, I loved that. And I don't think she'll ever recover from leaving him behind, because you wouldn't, would you? Even though like he's alive now as a 20-year-old, you are gonna be heartbroken for the kid who you can't go back and rescue. So it's devastating.
I am devastated. But
I do think it works.
Cathy, I hate you so much.
I know. As long as, but it works. But gosh, I don't think Navani will recover from that. Do I believe you can heal from everything? I guess I do believe in the potential to, but
some things are too big.
Some things are too big to ever fully come to peace with on this side of living, I think. That's what
like Dalinar killing his wife. There's this bit at the end where Odium is he goes to the spiritual realm and tries to get Dalinar's soul or whatever, and then it says that Dalinar's soul belongs to another. I choose to believe that is Evie in the afterlife, like, pulling him through.
Oh.
Because I think, ultimately, Evie always tried to see the good in Dalinar.
Yeah.
So I think while Dalinar can never truly forgive himself for killing Evie has forgiven him.
Oh, that's
Do you know what I
really,
mean?
yeah, I think that's lovely, and I think that Evie would forgive him. I took that to being he's going back to like the original creator. It seems a bit beyond all this
Okay, but
universe.
But Cathy.
I know the creator's meant to be dead,
Yeah.
but I think there's hints that there's something
Okay.
still going on.
Anyway, back to Navani not being able to heal from
Yeah, so I think
leaving her grandson behind.
I imagine the next storyline will show something of her healing. But again,
Do you think?
I think the book would be better if she doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
What if they get reunited?
Oh, that'd be lovely. If she can go back in time and rescue him.
That seems unlikely.
That does seem unlikely. The only thing that would get her through is recognising that 20-year-old Governor needs her.
As obviously, I originally thought that Gavin was going to age in the gap and
Yeah.
be a character, but I think he is still going to be a very prominent character. It's just he now has to heal.
Yeah.
So that's. I think there'll probably be a moment between him and Navani in the future where they have a very hard discussion about things that happened.
Should we talk about Adeline?
Yes. Let me. I'm just going to show you. So I started making notes, and let's see. A lot of the time, a note I would write is Adeline is the best boy in the world, love heart. Adeline is the best boy in the world, love heart. Adeline, best boy, etc., etc. So I love him with my whole heart, and his chapters were so fun.
Yeah.
And well, not fun, but I enjoyed reading them. He was the best bit of the book because I think his storyline.
Is he your favourite character in this book?
Yes, he is.
Same for me.
Yes, he is.
And his storyline was a favourite for me too.
Yeah, because there is that. It is a full storyline. Do you know what I mean? When everyone else was kind of left hanging at the end, Adeline isn't.
He also had this thing like he had to just last for the full 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess you could have argued that, well, you're still kind of just waiting for the end day. But so much seemed to happen within those 10 days.
Yeah, and I think there wasn't. You weren't sure that he was going to last all the 10 days. He could have died at any point.
Yeah.
I mean, he had protagonist plot armor, but he could have died at any point. Azir could have fallen, and there were so many. There were a lot of. Oh, now this has happened. Do you know what I mean? There was always something extra.
Yeah.
And, I loved it.
Yeah. And he so went through the wars. He had like a cost for what he did. In fact, is he the only character who was paying a price and getting weaker and weaker as the storyline was going? It looks like he lost a leg.
Yeah.
He lost his position. He was struggling with like giving up. He didn't have Maya with him.
I'm gonna interrupt because the trust and respect and sincerity in Maya and Adeline's friendship, for him to be so strong in saying Maya has gone to do a job, she wanted to do it, I have to believe that she will succeed.
Yeah.
And even if she didn't succeed, he has to let her try.
Yeah.
He could have called her back at any point.
Yeah.
But he respects her so much as an individual as opposed to as an object.
Yes.
That I just love him.
I love him too, and I love that too, and I loved his like mentor relationship with the Emperor. And that
Right, you messaged me and you called him Yawner Boy. Is that because you found him boring or just because?
No, it's just as close to sounding his name.
Fair enough. I was like, what?
I can't remember his name, so Yawner Boy. It's Yawner something, isn't it?
It's Yanagorn.
Yanagorn.
I think.
There you go.
Right?
Yawner Boy.
Let's have a look.
Oh, whilst Rachel's looking for that, can I say another minor thing that I loved is how the chapter headers disintegrate the further into the book you go. Beautiful. And again, the illustrations, the way the book is put together is really, really beautiful.
Speaking of the way that the book is put together though, this is another criticism. We will talk more about Adeline because we haven't said all we need to say about Adeline, but I really didn't like how, because in the previous books the chapters have been about, for the most part, the chapters have been about a certain character, a certain storyline, whereas in this one we were very all over the place, and I think that it made the story lack a lot of stability, I think. So for example, when we were in Yasna's POVs, we were there for like a page and a half, 2 pages, and I was just kind of like, I don't care. So I think that robbed some of her position in the novel, because we were never, And I think that's what I meant by I wish we'd been in the Tanavas POV for one solid chunk instead of interspersed. I just wish there'd been a bit more consistency through it to give it more
momentum.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, yeah. What else do you want to say about Adeline?
How much I love him. I think...
What does he do?
He does everything, Orla.
The big plot line he does in the story, Orla, is that he has to keep a city standing for 10 days when in this magical portal right in the middle of the city, in like this domed courtyard, the enemy army can keep coming in. And he doesn't have a very strong army, and he has to stop the enemy army breaking through that courtyard and getting into the rest of the city. That's his big task.
And is he good at it?
He's very good at it.
Mm-hmm. And I think that is his prime motive. He knows that this is what he can contribute to the efforts, and he is determined to see it done. And bad things keep happening, and he's like, right, well, this might be bad, but you know, Kaladin was a slave. Kaladin ran in the bridge crews.
Yeah.
Kaladin did this, and I just loved that he was. I wish he would give himself a bit more, like, freedom and liberty in like failure. Yeah. But like, he just kept on plowing forward. And oh my gosh, how cute was it? We learned that. So we saw Shalana and Adeline's wedding, and Adeline went into the wedding with the sword gift from Kaladin. He was wearing it. I just love how important they all are to each other. And then we found out that through the whole siege of Azir, he's been wearing Shallan's wedding gift sword on his back, and I just love that. How much he loves his friends and his wife, blah 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 blah. Yeah. But these are the people that are important to him, and swords are important to him, and the fact that he has this physical representation of their friendship, of their love, and he wears it as an embodiment of them in the moments when he is alone or when he can't have them with him. I love that. Yeah. He's just the golden boy.
One of the moments I loved from him was right at the beginning when they were leaving the cognitive realm and they had to get like rescued by windrunners, and he's packed really heavily for it. And as Shallan sees the windrunners coming, it's like, oh, it's not enough to carry us all out. Adeline's going to have to leave his horse behind and just pick like 1 or 2 swords. And I think I was like, Adeline viewed things differently. Adeline goes, how many of you will it take to carry my horse?
He's so funny. I love him so much. And in the spiritual realm, when they saw the music spraying and the soul of Shoreblood, Adeline's horse, original horse that died, and they like had that moment. Oh my gosh. He is so good at making connections. Yeah. That's something that he works hard on. It's not just something that he can just do automatically. Yeah. There's a bit where he was thinking about how he is determined to remember names and facts about people because people are important to him. Yeah. I really like him.
Yes. Yes, I feel like he's got the most sympathetic and comprehensive philosophy. Mm-hmm. Like that when he says like, well, he thinks the oaths are a bit stupid and that people matter more than oaths. I'm like, yeah.
Absolutely they do. I also like that when he's met with something that is different to his own belief system or his own experiences, he doesn't just dismiss it out of hand. He doesn't say, well, this is the way that I've done it, so my way is the better way and my way is the way that we're doing. He is very understanding and accepting of other people's points of view, which I feel is where he differs from Dalinar, because Dalinar is very, right, well, I'm in control, so this is the way that we're going to do it.
Yeah. I will say Adeline's chapters also had one of those lines that pulled me out of the narrative. What? Which is when he is fighting towards the very, very end, he's like holding spears and he's in the line, and he kind of realises he's going to die and that's going to be it. Mm-hmm. And it says something like, and then he surrendered to fatalism, which is like a philosophy. And then later on when he's fighting, he's like, no, I mustn't give in to fatalism again. And it just made me cringe a bit because, again, it's another core thing of this book is that there's different ethical philosophies at play against one another. So Odium's is like, it's okay to sacrifice one man for the greater good. Mm-hmm. You do as much good as possible, even if you have to do bad things to do it. And that's opposing other kinds of ones. But for Adeline to just name a philosophy and go, no, I mustn't surrender to that, when Adeline doesn't think in terms of philosophies, that, it just, again, it felt like the editor needs to come in and say, no, you got to leave some things as subtext. Mm-hmm. Like, he can have those fatalistic thoughts and then decide, no, I don't want to do that, but don't name it and describe it.
Also in Adeline's chapters, we got to see Notum again. And I think...
Oh yeah, I love that too.
They're like the human and Spren versions of each other. Because Notum is also someone who rejects oaths. I just like Notum. I like that he was there again.
And you know, I feel why the Adolin chapters work so well is that Adolin's a very good character in himself, but he is interacting with people who also feel like fleshed out characters, and their decisions are having consequences. And I feel like that's the strongest in his particular storyline.
Do you think that is deliberate because Adolin, as a person, sees people fully fleshed out?
Ooh, maybe.
Or do you think it's just happenstance? Do we have anything to say about the Unoathed and the whole new order of...
Loved it!
Yes!
Loved it. Again, maybe this leaps a little bit into like discussing the gods, like honour and odium and cultivation. I think one of the things about their storyline and stuff and their approach to things is it all feels a bit banal, a bit trite sometimes. Like it doesn't hold up to much scrutiny. So it makes a lot of sense to me to be like, yeah, we should be unoathed. You know, we're very set into like there's only one way that this works. There's one way of doing things, and none of it seems to make a lot of sense. So I loved them like breaking out of that because we're like, yes, of course you should break out of this. This doesn't seem to work. So yeah, I really like that.
In Adolin's sections, we were also introduced to a character that filled with absolute rage. Abida the Monarch. Every time he was on page, the heavenly one that Adolin stabbed his gem heart so he couldn't fly. Every time he was like, I just wanted to like pick him up and throw him across the room. He was so frustrating, and I was so glad when Adolin defeated him. That was a really good fight scene, I think, because Adolin, he's had so much experience being a duelist. To then be on the back foot with all these handicaps that he hasn't had to encounter before. He thought very, not clinically, but he used his experience as a duelist to counteract that. It wasn't just like I'm the best. I have all this natural talent and whatever. I can just beat people because I am the best. It was, here are the reasons why I am failing. How do I combat that using the experience that I've had before? I really liked it.
I love that too. Another thing that I liked in his bit was when the Herald woke up and like unleashed his fury on the enemy. And I even loved, I know other people might not, but I even loved that most of his fury unleashing kind of happened off screen. Because I love that, you know, like he suddenly wakes up and there's this like, then the next thing
you see the aftermath.
You see the aftermath and the desolation, and then his bodies, you know, side by side. I think we've covered all the major players. We didn't talk much about Yasna, but I don't think there's wait.
Again, he didn't really do anything. He was just pretending to be Dalinar, and we didn't really see him pretend to be Dalinar. We knew that he was pretending to be Dalinar, based on other people's short sentences about it.
Lift was in it a little bit.
Oh, we didn't get enough Lift. I like Lift. I know you don't like Lift, but I wish we'd had more Lift.
I had enough Lift. I had enough Lift to keep me satisfied.
I wish we'd had a Lift interaction at the end between her and Gavinor, because obviously they were together at the beginning. And then she spent the novel wondering about where he was. Then we didn't get her seeing him at the end. Which made me quite sad. I just think she would have noticed that he was a blob. I'm never going to be over it, Cathy.
Should notice that. Oh, and the listeners and Venli. I liked their storyline. I love the Chill Fiends.
Oh, they were so cute, the Chasm Fiends.
Chasm Fiends, that's it. Chasm Fiends, getting all this up. I love that. I love that partnership and that kind of real understanding of who they are.
I'm going to jump back to Gavinor again, because I feel like it would have had more of an impact if Navani and the people in the tower had realised
I feel a massive panic.
Real.
Actually, wouldn't that have been great if she stepped through and gone, I've got him, and then looked and gone,
yeah, and then there would have been that dread of, oh my gosh, Gavinor is trapped in the spiritual realm by himself. We don't know where he is, and then for him to then be the champion, I feel like that would have been an even bigger gut punch.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I do. Yeah,
Brandon,
I agree.
Recall the book, rewrite that bit, and then republish it. Everything everything else that I've complained about can stay as it is, but recallable.
You want that change?
Have Navani notice that she is holding a blob of flesh in her arms instead of her grandson. Have the people who've come to heal them from their tired exhaustion in the spiritual realm notice that it's a blob of flesh and not a human being. Have them notice. Have them be thrown into absolute torment and anguish that their baby boy is trapped. Is that 2 minutes of battery left?
2 minutes of battery left.
Crikey, we need to
wrap up.
Is there anything we haven't talked about?
Probably,
okay. We've probably missed a lot of things, but the camera is about to die, so if you have anything else to share about Wind of Truth, leave a comment down below. As critical as we have been, we did both really enjoy it, and we're really excited for book 6, etc, etc, etc. We release books. No, we don't. We release videos every Wednesday and Friday.
We release books.
Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Bye!
Bye!
Hello, I'm Cathy.
I forgot how it works.